Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. I will be reading the best ones every week, so long as they are 5 stars. For example, here's a 5-star review from Joe Del Fanatic. Just found out on a podcast that she has a pet turtle. That's pretty awesome. See, there you go. It can be about simple stuff like my pet turtle. I have a Herman turtle. Tortoise, actually, to be precise. He's the best. And he's going into hibernation this time of year. I didn't realize that he was being less active for a reason. It's not that he's going to be sleeping. He's just like low key. Anyway, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about our new sponsor for December. It's Lucy. Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. This was researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great, and I have tasted these. They're super good. It's convenient, discreet. These products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, even in the gym. So it's 2020. It's going to be 2021 soon. If you are trying to better yourself in the new year and quit smoking, I highly recommend Lucy Gum. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out that gross dip, and get some Lucy Gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. So it's simple. You don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. CMP listeners, go to lucy.co, and use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum and lozenges. That's lucy.co. Use the promo code CMP and check it out. I have to give this disclaimer as well. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code CMP. Quit smoking! But you can still be smoking hot. I am so excited to have this guy back on the podcast. I really am so excited because he really is more than just a podcast guest. He's a friend. We got to know each other 2 years ago when he ran for governor of New York against Dick Blasio. And I got so fired up about libertarianism and the ideas, and like I was an activist. I was holding signs in Grand Central for this guy. Larry Sharpe, how are you?
How are you?
I
am so happy I'm here. One minor correction.
Oh, shoot.
It wasn't against Dick Blasio. He is that, but it was against His Majesty
Cuomo.
King Andrew, Governor Cuomo II.
God.
All hail the king. It was against him.
It was against Cuomo. See, it's so early, and I know that. It's just
they're all bad, yet. So it's confusing, right? When it's what really level of badness? Absolutely.
They are so bad. And Were you seeing, Larry, that people had these like window clings of Cuomo's face to put like on their window for Thanksgiving?
He was peeking over just in case you had more than 10 people.
He's peeking. He's got a clipboard. He's writing it down. It's like he knows if you've been naughty or nice.
He literally got mad at somebody, and for some reason he doesn't like people from Staten Island. He does not like Staten Island people at all. That's like his thing. So he got mad at one press interview when I was talking to this guy from Staten Island, and I told him, look, if you want to go ahead and take care of your do whatever you want during this pandemic, great. When you get sick or your family gets sick, it's all on you. You find an ambulance worker who wants to take you to the hospital. You find a nurse, blah blah blah. You do all that stuff. It's all on you. And I thought to myself, oh, all this time I thought my insurance and taxes paid for that. I didn't realize you personally are my concierge service, and you go out and find people for me when I get ill. I mean, if that's the plan, then let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
I like that plan.
I had no idea it had to do with like, yeah, what Cuomo thought about you, if he thought you were
Yes.
following the rules or not, or his just personal opinion of you.
Yeah.
Wow. That to me, that sounds like an old school, like mobster mentality, you know?
Yes, absolutely. As I was running for governor across the state, very often I would talk about His Majesty. And as I was going around, one of the mayors of one of the cities I was in said to me, he said, Larry, you know, Governor Cuomo is what happens when the henchman becomes the boss.
Wow.
And I've copied it and told other people that in the past. People who are going around, and I see sitting state senators, assemblymen, mayors, and I bring that up and I go, this guy said that. And every single time, and I mean, I've done this dozens of times, every single time people go, yeah. Nobody goes, no, that's not him. Nobody, not even one in like 20. No one does that. They all go, yeah, that's him. Yep.
Everyone's in agreement that he's kind of a thug. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. We live in a thugocracy. How's that?
Did you hear about this? Speaking of Staten Island, there was a bar out in Staten Island called Mac's Public House.
Yep, he is in jail.
This has just happened last night because I follow Heshi Tischler, and we did an episode with him a few weeks back. 40 sheriffs arrested the owner of Mac's Public House in Staten Island with no warrant, no court order, because he did not want to leave his property.
Yes. Absolutely true. Yes. And the worst part is, if you remember the story, he was trying to get around the rules by not selling anything, right? So it couldn't be open for business. So he said, I'm not open for business. I'm giving everything away for free. If people want to give donations, they may. That's what he said. He's like, the interview he did, he said, I'm so far behind on my bills, it doesn't matter anymore. So he's like, I'm giving it away for free. If people want to give me donations, that'll be something. It's some money versus nothing. And the cops came in, basically threw out all his patrons, questioned and detained all of his employees, and then took him away in handcuffs. So, or there might have been those like
zip ties.
There might have been slip ties, but I think it was actually handcuffs. Took him away, did a perp walk. And yes, this is not a law. This is not anything. This is just you. How dare you go against His Majesty? This is why I will often call him the king, because that's what it's about. Now, it's own private property, giving away his own food, giving away his own. I talked about this. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but about 6 or 9 months ago when it first came out, I literally said out loud, I'm on record saying this, if I was a retail store owner, I'm staying open no matter what. I don't care what they say, because the reality of it is this is going to last more than a year. At least half of these companies are going to go out of business. I'm going bankrupt anyway. So I don't care.
In a blaze of glory.
Yeah, well, what I would do is I would take only cash, so they can't see my bank accounts. Take only cash, right, from anyone who wants to come in. When the cops come by and say, we're going to fine you, okay, go ahead, $1,000. Make it 100,000. Make it $1 billion. It doesn't matter. I'm not paying it. I'm going bankrupt.
That's badass.
Yes, make it $20 bazillion. Great. It doesn't matter. I'm not paying it. Let me be more accurate. Bajillion dollars. And then it doesn't matter. I'm not paying it anyway. So who cares? So they knew that people would think that way. So they did the ultimate, the arrest. Now the arrest is not going to go anywhere because there's no law. But what does the arrest do? It is a public shaming. Right? Mm-hmm. No, it's a public shaming. So now you have an arrest record. Right. So now your friends and family can watch you do a perp walk. People were watching, and the cops still did.
People were out there. People 100%. Were supporting him. And
it didn't slow the cops down at all, because the goal was, it doesn't matter what you think. His Majesty will enforce his will upon you. Look, everyone, upon the power of His Majesty. You must all feel his wrath. And it may sound, hyperbolic, but it isn't. It's real. We just saw it happen. The goal is to make everyone afraid, right? That's what it is. And it works. Other people don't want to be arrested. They don't want that public shaming. They don't have an actual law, but they do have public shaming, and it did work.
It's like public shaming goes back a very long time, and it's just people don't see it as that. I think people are really just afraid to get arrested, and that's the thing.
Fear is everything. Yes.
Fear is everything, and you turn on the TV, it's nothing but fear porn, and I think people are a little bit delusional in that if we just follow all the rules and we're good and we obey, this will all be over. The quicker everyone obeys, the quicker it'll be over. And I don't think there's no scenario in which that happens.
None. The reverse is true, right? The reverse is the more we obey, the longer it lasts, because the less resistance there is, right? So we continue. Guys like him will pop up. While I love guys like him, on their own, they don't do anything, right? It would have to have been 40 owners, 100 owners, right? It would have to be that many to where the police state becomes so obvious. There was when the Germans occupied Poland. Yes, I went back there. When the Germans occupied Poland in the 30s, in the 40s, and in late 30s and the 40s, there was a saying about, you can't occupy the entire country, and the Germans were like, oh yeah, we can. We're Nazis. So when the Soviets came in after that, the Poles said, oh great, you guys aren't Nazis, so we'll be fine. They went, no, we're just as bad. We're Soviets, which is bad. And there was a saying in Poland: there are 3 types of Poles: those who were in jail, those who are in jail, and those who will be in jail. Yes. So a Polish dissident said to the Soviets, he said, you can't arrest us all. And the Soviet officer, the commissar, said, why not?
Wow.
And that is where we're going, right? We have to go to a point where we're that bad, to where they have to arrest everyone. Because the advantage of America versus European nations are almost all born under the idea of my king is better than your king. We were born under no kings are good. So we have a different birth. So we change how we think. When eventually it gets to a point where they want to arrest everybody, we go, oh, no. Like, you can arrest like 10% of us. We're good with that. You can arrest the people who aren't me. Also okay. We're totally fine with that. Oh, wait, you're arresting me and my kind and my friend and my families? Oh, no, we can't have that. And so I think that's, sadly, we probably have to go to that point.
What would it take to get our business owners to be like, yeah, just open up? Like, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah, you'll be arrested. I guess most people don't want to be arrested. Most people don't want to be fined, but it's not
very effective. Yesterday's police PR was very effective, right? You're talking about it, so am I. It was on CNN. Right. I mean, it's all over. It's the thing. Right. So it is.
And he had outside. It was very clever, actually. He had outside. He had written autonomous zone.
Yep.
He had like written on the sidewalks. It was kind of cute, actually, how he did it.
Yes. Well, look, desperate people do desperate things. Right. And then we set up an environment to where people are desperate. And then we wonder, why are they doing desperate things? Well, you set up an environment to where they have to be desperate. So yeah, they do desperate things. We create a terrible environment and then wonder why people get upset. This was so, again, I'm tooting my own horn here, but I literally did videos on this now 9 months ago saying this is going to happen.
Wow.
You don't have to have a degree in biochemistry or be a rocket scientist to figure out if you put people in a bad situation, they will act badly. That's kind of how it works. How long can you shut this stuff down? How long can you say, if you saw the Supreme Court said that His Majesty Governor Cuomo cannot shut down places of worship, right? He can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Can't shut it down. And people said, yay, that's awesome. And I agree. That's a great ruling, right? You should be able to go to church if you want to. We have a First Amendment right. If you want to go to your temple, your church, your synagogue, whatever's your thing, if that's how you find happiness and joy, you should be able to go. Absolutely. But they didn't say the other stuff was bad. So martial law, totally cool. Just not church martial law. But all the rest martial law, all good. I wanted it all to be shut down. I wanted the only thing that the governor should be able to deal with is things that are public and public only. That's it, right? If it's government run, the government runs it. I got it, like a school or something. But why should the government shut down a private school?
Exactly. Well, then, because then I guess it's unfair to all the public school kids.
Well, then keep your public school open then.
Yeah. And there's kind of no real need to shut down the schools because kids are not dying from this.
They're not super spreader events. They're not. That's a fact. They all thought, oh, with the kids in school, everybody's going to die. Kids went to school. Wait, nobody's dying? Okay. Then it's churches. That's what it is, right? It's the next thing. The fear is working to divide us even more, right? Someone when I was on doing my show, The Sharpe Way, by the way.
Great show. I've done it.
Yes, absolutely.
One time I did it from a boat. It was.
You did. I know that was very impressive.
There was a last minute addition. There were a lot of drunk people on the boat. It was a lot of this, and I apologize profusely.
No, it was awesome.
Cursing in the background, but it was fun.
No, that's why I love doing my shows live, and I love doing it live. Right? John McAfee went and took a piss in the middle of my show. Austin Peterson got a pizza delivered. I mean, it's amazing. I love live. I love you were on a boat and you had drunk guys. You're like, guys, shut the window. That was you doing that, right? Because it was amazing. Live shows are great.
And by the drunk people, I meant me. I was just talking about myself.
There were more than just one drunk person in that one. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I forgot totally where I was going. But anyway, watch The Sharpe Way on all the internet things, in Instagram and Twitter and all the things.
Sharpe Way is an excellent show. So can you describe for the good people, the difference between a mandate versus a law? Because I feel like we're at a point, especially with New York, whatever Cuomo says, we have to do because he is scary and he's on TV.
He is the God King. So we don't have to worry about that. Yes. The problem that we have is most people don't know the difference, and His Majesty speaks as if they are the same. And he has some right to say that in a way. And for those of you who don't know, in New York State, just this summer, because of fear, because people who are afraid do bad things, we as a state, the Assembly and the Senate, gave him emergency powers because, he'll have to act fast or whatever, because we can't handle a super flu. That's impossible. We cannot handle that. Okay, I got it. Whatever the case may be, we gave it to him. So now he does have extraordinary powers. But even with that, he has what's called a mandate. A mandate says the governor says you must do this. But then what are the penalties for such? There aren't any, which is why many sheriffs are saying, I can't enforce it, right? His mandate was, you may not have more than 10 people in your home. In your home.
Again, that you pay for to live in.
That's correct. In your home. What if you happen to have, I don't know, 2 elderly parents, an uncle and an aunt living with you, and
this is
6 kids.
It's racist towards Italians. Like, that's not even inviting people over.
Irish
that's just
too.
Your regular family.
Come on. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So now you got to throw them out. I'm like, okay, who gets shot? Withdraw
plus,
stores.
This is lockdown. Plus is all the people in the family that may have lost jobs, that had to move back in with their parents. Like,
absolutely,
it makes no sense.
But my point is, let's say it does make sense. Let's say the magic number's 10 and COVID waits outside your house. And if it sees
waiting for the 11th person.
11th person. There they are. Get them. Right. Let's assume that's true for the sake of argument. How does he have a right to still say that, even if it's true? My point is, I don't care if it's true. Just because it's true doesn't mean it should be a law. There is no doubt that smoking increases your odds of getting cancer.
Which is why you should quit using Lucy nicotine gum.
Yes, you should. You should use Lucy nicotine gum to do so. That's exactly one of the best ways to do that. You should. But it doesn't mean that we should now pass a law mandating that everyone has to have, Lucy gum. I'm sure the good people at Lucy Gum would love to have that law, but that should not be a law. That should be an option or a choice. And that's the point. Just because it may be true doesn't mean it should be a law. You still have a right to live your life as you see fit.
Right. So, like, cars kill hundreds of thousands of people every year. Why not outlaw fast food? Because that causes obesity. Didn't somebody try to outlaw
Bloomberg
soda?
Tried to. Yeah. Yes, Bloomberg tried to do exactly that. And let me touch that for a sec. Oh, you're taking me down a road.
Good.
I'm get me going.
Let
me exactly touch this piece, right? And it's the soda piece goes directly with the mask piece and all those other pieces. The soda piece. In reality, the science behind having smaller sodas is accurate science. It's true. It's demonstrably true. If you give people smaller portions, over time, the average person does drink less soda. That's a fact. And we probably should all drink less sweet drinks. That's probably true. So the science is a fact. What did Bloomberg do, our glorious mayor, who was a Republican when he was a mayor and then became Democrat in New York City? So what he said was, I'm going to mandate it. You may not do it. And what happened is that now became a punchline. And now people rebelled. And now the science became ridiculed. And now people don't do it. But if you look now in your stores, what do you actually see? Smaller cans of soda.
They're so cute. They're
That's
so
correct.
little.
Because 20 years later, we realized, oh, that was right. We probably should drink less soda. And now we're doing it voluntarily. But 20 years of people drinking extra soda happened because Bloomberg mandated it.
Wow.
If Bloomberg had instead simply said, hey guys, here's some awesome science that I found. It's true and amazing. And you know what you should do? You guys should follow this. It'd be amazing if you would. I'd love if you would. In fact, if you follow it, I'm going to make a separate page on newyorkcity.gov that shows all the cool restaurants who follow this. That's it.
Yeah.
No mandate, no law. Here's what I think. Here's what I know would have happened. A bunch of restaurants would have said, we care about your health, Chrissy, so we're going to voluntarily have smaller sodas for you. How do I know this? It's called veganism. If you go back 20 years, there's no vegan. Oh, there's a couple vegan restaurants in Manhattan. Now it's like every corner.
It's very
and it's voluntary because it became popular. People liked it. People do it. It's a marketing tool. People would have used it as a marketing tool to get you in. We're the healthy store. We do 16-ounce sodas and less. And the consumer now decides, do I care about a 16-ounce soda or not? And you decide. We would have actually saved more lives due to obesity and things like diabetes if Bloomberg had not mandated it. And now I got to make the shift now to the masking and the people in the homes. If we had not mandated masks, if we had not mandated 10 people in the home, and so we said, hey, this is a good idea, we think it's right, and then not been hypocrites and then done by example everything we said.
Newsom, not be caught out.
Thank you.
At dinner. Pelosi, not be caught out doing your hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we would have said, here's what I believe is the right answer for us. Imagine if instead the governor had come out and said, guys, I actually, in March, I'm actually unsure if these masks work or not. I actually don't know. We believe they do. We're still trying to figure this out. We're working on a vaccine. Yeah. We think it's going to work. I think you should wear the mask. I'm going to wear the mask because I think it might work. And I don't want to hurt people who are at risk. So I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to ask all my public employees, when they deal with the public, they have to wear a mask because I'm the governor and I control public employees. So when they're at work, not at home, they don't have to. But when they're at work against the public, they're going to have to wear the mask. I hope you will too. The vast majority of New Yorkers would have worn a damn mask. And then we would have found out the people who don't, whether it works or not. And there wouldn't be a he said, she said, we would know. Mandating makes things worse.
And there wouldn't be this shaming on people who don't. And there's people with legitimate, health restrictions that were asthma or whatever, or maybe they've had COVID and they have the antibodies and they just don't need to wear the mask anymore. It's almost like, and even with the soda thing, there were other tactics you could have used. Like I remember when I was on Weight Watchers briefly, because my friend was like a leader, she said like, you only, for taste buds or whatever, in terms of cravings, you only need 3 bites of something to satisfy a craving. And she would tell that to like our group over and over again. And so you'd realize, oh, like I only really need 3 bites of this brownie, then I can put it down, or 3 sips of soda, and then I can put it down. But instead, when you say you can't have this, the little kid in us rebels against that. What do you mean? Because then you're fighting with the adult side of you that's like, I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. I want a bathtub of soda. Try and stop me. I'm going to a movie, And
I am going to absorb soda through my pores. That is exactly how much I want my soda.
The truth is, my boyfriend, Frank, you met him, he used to drink a lot of soda, and then we started just switching to the smaller cans, and even the smaller cans, he wouldn't finish all of it. So it is really true. And not out of me saying never have soda again, because that would be weird. Just out of his own realizing you're not going to drink the whole thing. And
it's amazing, right? There's an idea that, well, we'll just pass a law. Laws are fine, I guess, in theory, right? But the problem is it doesn't change culture. The best defense against people not doing things is people not wanting to do them, right? We talk about the idea street crime is down. Street crime is down. Yes, but it's not because of the laws. Well, because cops are cracking down. No, because no one's carrying cash. It doesn't make sense to knock someone over there and steal their credit cards and they can cancel in 5 minutes. It doesn't make sense.
Knock them out, steal their N95 mask.
There we go, steal their mask, I guess, right? So there isn't enough stuff for people to do, right? So it isn't as lucrative. So not as much street crime is there. There's still some stealing jewelry and stuff. I mean, it does exist. but a whole lot less because there isn't as much cash. Doesn't make sense. So where's the crime? The war on drugs, because there's so much cash. Why? Because it's illegal and you can't use banks. But if you could use banks, even a drug trade would be online, and you wouldn't even be knocking off drug dealers because they wouldn't have cash. They wouldn't be on the corner. They'd be in their homes. So again, that will cut down crime. If you change the environment, you change people's behavior without having a mandate.
And even on the back of the, like, you get a box of the regular masks, the blue masks that most everybody has and is wearing because they're probably the cheapest. It says, like, this does not prevent against COVID or getting a virus.
Right.
So there's so much misinformation out there. I see people with two masks on.
It should just say, this will make your friends not yell at you. This is what it just said. Oh, good.
Seriously.
Okay, good. They won't yell at me now. That's it.
Because it's like, there is something to that, Larry. Like, if we can police one another, it's like, why don't we just, I don't know, fight each other? Why don't we just give up our own rights instead of waiting for His Majesty to crack down?
I actually don't mind us giving up our own rights if we choose to. People do it all the time.
Right.
People get married, you lose some rights. I joined the Marine Corps for 7 years. I lost a bunch of my rights. But again, people do it voluntarily. People check themselves into rehab. I mean, lots of people decide to lose their rights for whatever reason they want. But again, it's your rights to give up for whatever reason you think is appropriate. And I have no problem with that. You can decide to become a monk in a monastery if you want to, as long as you couldn't. But a nun, you could become a nun in a nunnery. There we go.
A lady monk.
You could become the lady monk, yes. As long as it's one of those Chinese ones where you learn kung fu, that'd be amazing. I want to see that.
I've been meaning to learn kung fu or Krav Maga or something for a while. And then I wondered like, oh, did Krav Maga have to change their marketing because there's actually MAGA in their title?
It's Krav Maga.
It's Krav Maga.
It's the Trump people beating people up. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's Trump martial arts.
It is Trump martial arts. Yes, there we go. 100%. No, you have to go to a Shaolin temple is what I want you to go to.
Okay.
You gotta come out with,
why not?
You gotta come out with the really long like scalp lock, like only everything's shaved except for just the top, and that thing is like really long. You know what I'm saying?
Like a rat tail.
Yes, a really long rat tail like comes down to your waist. You gotta have that.
And I gotta whip it around.
Yes, you can put like a blade on the end of it, like chop people up or something like that.
See
amazing. Yeah, see, we got the plan, Chrissy. We got the plan. That's it. Who needs kung fu when you have razor hair?
Yeah. Hey, we got to defend ourselves, right? Somehow.
Right to bear arms doesn't mean guns. Also includes razor hair.
Razor hair.
It does. It includes that too.
Right to bear razor hair. That's I feel like that's a
Could
t-shirt.
the founding fathers, the framers, that's the cool word now. Would the framers have understood like an automatic weapon? No. Could they have understood, say, razor hair? Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the framers were thinking, razor hair.
Who's calling them framers?
That's the cool thing now. It's because fathers is, patriarchy.
Oh my gosh, but they were men.
They were men, yes. So
we
now we
can't
have to call them
refer to them
framers.
as men.
Now we have to refer to them as framers. That's the cool thing of the
So
day.
to be cool is to deny reality.
Well, to be cool is to say the cool word.
Mm-hmm,
right? That's the appropriate speak, right? So we have to have the appropriate speak. So the appropriate speak is framers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, this is pretty crazy, Larry. I mean, you've been talking about this for 6 to 9 months in advance. You're probably feeling frustrated. And I think a lot of us are scared, confused, because nothing like this has happened in any of our lifetime.
Yep.
Certainly
and for those of you who want to know this, just to be clear,
life.
you can go to the Sharpe Way YouTube page. That's Sharpe with an E, and the E stands for entertainment.
Electorate? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, whatever. You tell me. E stands for whatever you want. Just remember the E. And if you go down to the playlist, there's actually one that says COVID-19 response. There's actually 10 videos, separate playlist, which goes through every aspect of how to handle COVID. And this, again, was done in March, 9 months ago. I give exactly how we should handle this. Now, it's not perfect because things have changed since then. But you'll see, if we would have done what I said, changed everything.
Because so I remember when the last time that you were on the pod, you were talking about, because I remember lots of, different folks were talking about like, oh, I can start making masks. And it just took so damn long for people who could make masks to start making them or to give them the go ahead. And it took a really long time to get COVID tests. And it just, I don't know.
And
you're the expert, but
now we have like 2 or 3 vaccines that are coming in. The problem is, you're throwing you're putting all your eggs in the basket of vaccines. And I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not. If you want a vaccine, please get a vaccine. Absolutely. I'm not anti-vaccine. But the idea that that's the only way, that every time there's a virus, we shut down our economy until the vaccine comes out. If that's
we haven't done that before. I mean,
never before.
We've had lots of viruses.
And we're going to have more. I mean, think about this. We're mad now, and you hear it all the time. Oh, the Chinese are going to get us, or the Russians are going to get us, or the Iranians are going to get us. And Iranian, we just recently, I think the Israelis killed an Iranian scientist, nuclear scientist. Why bother? If we're going to destroy ourselves, don't get nuclear. That's scary. Get a biological weapon instead, which is what this is. You get a biological weapon instead. You give your people a vaccine in Iran or North Korea or Russia, China, whatever the case may be. Or in China, you just test it on your people. You've got like billions of them. So you just let people straight say, oh, that worked. Well done. And then you send it over to us. We shut our economy down for a year and a half and destroy ourselves. This country was going to fall apart in 5 years if we do this again. That's the end of our country. We will physically break up. We will physically break up.
It almost seems like that's the goal.
Yes. For those people who are against the U.S. hegemony, that is exactly their goal, because it's the only way around it, right? I knew we'd get back to World War One. Chrissie wanted to talk about World War One. She was like, Larry, can you discuss the origins of World War One? World War One and World War Two, in 200 years from now, and look back at it, will be looked upon as one war. That was a war to see if Germany would dominate Europe. That's what it was. Will Germany dominate Europe or not? Come to find out, they will, but just not militarily, through economics. So Germany would dominate Europe in the long run anyway. And would you have one Germany, or would you have 2, Germany and Austria, right? There are very few German-speaking countries in Central Europe, only 2 of them. Well, if you count Switzerland, 3. So 2 countries that are German. Will there be 1 Germany, or will there be 2? And will it dominate Europe? That's what the war was actually about. Both of those wars was about. And eventually the Germans did it anyway economically, because now they own the EU. So they did it anyway, but they didn't do it via military force. Right now, the Cold War is how long and will the United States dominate the world? That's what this is about right now. That's what the Cold War is about. And we won Cold War One, which was against Russia.
Cold War One, that's great.
We won Cold War One against the Soviet Union. Will we win Cold War Two, which is against China? That's the issue. Will we win Cold War II?
Because we're not hurling nuclear weapons at each other currently.
Now, in the case of against the Soviet Union, there were many proxy wars, right? And while we won all the battles, we lost all the individual wars, but we wind up winning the actual Cold War because we basically bankrupted the Soviet Union. China is smarter. China isn't fighting there's no proxy wars against China. We're not fighting, China and America in Africa. That's not happening, right? There's no Vietnam. We're not doing that, right? They learned their lesson in Korea. They don't have, their only proxy war against it was in Korea. They've ended that. So the Chinese are fighting almost only economically and socially, and they're dominating the third world or the undeveloped countries economically. So if the second Cold War, which would be Cold War II, will be against China. And if we win that war, the U.S. will dominate the world. If we don't, we will fall back into whatever else is the next level. Because we'll become our father, which was the British Empire. The British Empire was our father, and it eventually waned. We will become that. We'll become the modern day UK.
Yeah, there's also folks who think like we will become like China and, basically become like a communist country and socialism, whatever you want to call it.
No, that's when the country breaks up. That's my point. There's too much of an... It's much easier to be a socialist country when your population is homogenous, right?
Right.
Homogenous countries are much easier because the cultures are similar, the language is similar. We don't have that in America. We are the least homogenous country on the planet, and on top of that, our language is non-contextual. The way we speak is different. So the problem we're going to have is we're balkanized. Well, am I getting too deep on this stuff?
No, this is great.
Yeah. If you look at, say, for example, our first civil war, it was very much North versus South, right? It was the lines were clearer. But if you look at the Yugoslavian civil war in the 80s and 90s, since the Ottoman Empire moved into that area hundreds of years ago, and they occupied the cities, and they made the cities Muslim. They were very savvy in their conversion. The Muslims weren't conversion through the sword. The Christians, when they came through, were conversion via the sword. The Muslims weren't. They're much savvier. They were like, you don't have to be a Muslim, but you pay the infidel tax. Oh, you want a business? Oh, you're not a Muslim? Nah, we're not going to give you a monopoly. So
Wow.
people would begin converting so they could get the benefits of whatever the government would give them, right? But it wasn't the sword, it was through the coin.
Okay.
So all the cities became Muslim, but the outskirts who didn't care about stuff didn't become Muslim. So when the fighting began, it was basically city versus rural, which is what we are.
Oh, God.
Right?
Wow.
The cities are all blue. The rural areas are all red. Upstate
Right.
New York, outside the cities, as red as Alabama. But then look at the cities of Alabama, as blue as upstate New York cities, right? So we're cities versus rural. I'm sorry, did I give you bad news? I told you I'd go to World War I. You didn't believe me.
You made it work. You made it work. Yeah. And how did it come to be? Like, how did it come to be that the cities are so blue and basically the non-cities are red?
The country has been going left for a long time, slowly. I think it's about to change because the big,
it feels like it.
It is, and you'll see what I meant. I talked earlier. I've talked for years about this. The major reason why the country's been going left is not the media. That's a part of it, but is not the major reason. Is not any of those things. The major reason is because of urbanization. Because since the 2008, there's been no real recovery except inside cities, right? The suburbs and rural areas, there's no recovery since 2008. So what happens? Everyone has to rush to cities for opportunity. In fact, 80% of all new jobs have come out of 20 U.S. cities in the past 12 years. So that means everyone has to rush to cities. Well, as people rush to cities, they lose their culture. Now we have people in one home. They live on top of each other. People who have roommates, people live in large buildings. Someone's been there for 3 weeks. Someone's been there for 30 years. There's no common way of holding us together. So we beg for a referee. And the referee, of course, government. So we beg for more, we beg for rules and regulations, and we call the cops, and we do that constantly. That's why New York City has 40,000 police officers, right? That's the reason why, right? We have more police officers than we have in many counties in this country, total population, right? We have more just in our city. So we do that, and people become more left. Now, here's the issue. With COVID and the response to COVID, people are leaving cities in droves.
Big time.
In droves, they're leaving.
Big time.
Like there's no tomorrow. Well, as people move back out to the suburbs and back out to rural areas, that should go back. That we should make it, the pendulum should at least become neutral, if not shift a little bit right. That's what should happen in the coming years with the COVID response. Plus rebellion against the lockdowns, right? The country is saying, we'd rather die. Just leave us alone. And the story I'll tell, both my parents passed of cancer. When my father passed, he was younger. And he was all about life. Let me live. I want quantity of life. Cut me open. Do whatever it takes. Give me chemo. I don't care. Experimental stuff. I want to live. When my mother passed of cancer, when she was dying, she was older and she already had grandkids. My daughters were already part of her life. And she was like, no. I want quality of life. I want to spend time with my grandchildren. I don't want to sit in a bed until I drop dead. She was like, no. So she actually, it's about 7 or 8 years ago, she actually took my oldest daughter to an amusement park when she was on chemo. And the doctor was like, don't do that. You're immune compromised. She wore a mask back then and she went. And she told her doctor, the doctor said, look, if you might get the flu and die, your immune system's shot because of chemo. And she said, if that happens, okay. I want to spend time with my granddaughters.
Yeah.
That's what she wanted. And you know what? Both are right. You own your life. If you want quantity or quality or any mix of that, good on you. I don't get to choose.
Exactly. At this point, we all know, I mean, given, confusion aside, we all have some idea, okay, there's some risk. Okay. But, let people get together if they want, then it's on them. It's like, instead of being like shitty and like, well, if you get sick, it's on you. That's like, don't treat us like children. If you own and operate a business, same deal, like let whoever come into that business, they're taking a risk. It's like when you walk onto like a movie set in New York City, they just have that like sandwich board out, be like, hey, you might be in the background. Like, don't.
We're not paying you anything, loser. You're not getting any cash.
And I spent years lingering around movie sets trying to be like, let me get a line in.
I'm going to be discovered. Look.
Yes. I did my own hair and makeup.
So good. I'll be discovered on the new HBO series.
So it's interesting what you're saying, Larry. So you're saying basically we had an economic, total meltdown in 2000. It was 2008. Wow.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to, it was a recession, I guess. And
100%.
so the cities built up their jobs, and we kind of ignored our rural areas because our industry didn't come back. It's not like Utica and Detroit came back.
Nope.
And so the jobs that did come back were city based, which is great, which is fine. And now, right, there's a rebellion. People are working remotely. So it's almost like these city jobs, because of our technology, we can work remotely. We're all on Zoom. Hello, here we are.
Absolutely.
All these city jobs can be done remotely. Yeah.
Right. And there's a worst part to this. And he shows the difference between de Blasio, our glorious mayor, dear leader, and our governor, His Majesty. They're very different. And look, I got told I was non-essential back in March. So His Majesty said I didn't get to go off and work anymore. So my business had to go from training and teaching to heavily coaching, right? Most of my business now is through this, is coaching, because it's all I can do, right? So that's what I've shifted to. It was very a small part of my business model. Now it's like 90%. It really has made I've had to make a huge change in my business model. So most of the people I coach are well off, if not wealthy. Some of them are very wealthy.
So I would be out of the running. Got it.
No, you're my number one customer. We're talking about, yes, you're the big heavy hitter. Come on. So you're getting all that Lucy cash. So that's the thing right there. Yes. So
I have just nicotine. I've been chewing this, and I don't smoke, but I'm like, it's good.
There we go. See, exactly,
happens.
Getting all that cash. So, but my point being, those people almost always have two homes, one in New York City,
right,
and then one someplace else, either
Florida,
Jersey Shore, Connecticut, insert upstate New York, Long Island, someplace else. Some actually Arizona, some, North Carolina, Vegas, something like that, right?
That's where all my family lives. Yeah.
There we go. So a lot of them have been working and found that they can actually work and be just as effective, if not effective enough, from better housing. Well, they're not coming back. They've told me to my face. They're like, I asked them, when are you going back? They're like, never. Wow. I'm not going back. Like, I guess you'll have to fire me because I'm not going back. Now, what will businesses do? Well, they'll fire them. No, they'll just lower their salaries. And they'll be okay with it. The businesses save money because they get to get rid of all the commercial real estate they have in Manhattan.
Yep.
And now you don't have to pay somebody 6 figures who has to live in Manhattan. You can pay them 5 and they can live in Oklahoma and feel like a king or a queen. So that's going to happen. But here's the worst part. When those people don't come back, all the people who work with them don't come back.
What do you mean? Like they're
juniors. This is senior management.
Okay.
Now middle management doesn't come back.
Oh, right. Because what am I like, even if you're that guy's assistant, you're like, what am I going to physically be in the office when he's in Oklahoma?
Bingo.
That doesn't make any sense.
So they don't come back, right? So those people don't come back. Now, here's the worst part of it all. All the people who service them don't come back. The people who gave them lunch, who shined shoes,
the cafeteria
people, they don't come back. Now, when they don't come back, that means not using the infrastructure. They're not using the subway, the buses. That doesn't come back. New York City was at 8.5 million. It will go under 7 million and never recover from under 7 million.
I'm amazed it's not lower than that. I'm amazed.
Yes. Well, New York City is still a massive, assuming that we pull our heads out of our asses eventually, it will become a massive, still cultural and tourist center. It just won't be a massive business center anymore.
It's going to be like a museum. It's going to be like, here's where we used to have Broadway. Here's where we used to have comedy clubs.
Yes, absolutely. It will still be that if it recovers, right? And here's the difference you see between the two. Cuomo is a dictator. He is not a true believer in any they except himself. So when he saw the rich going away, he begged them to come back. They laughed at him. He actually believed that his image, his power would bring them back. They laughed at him. De Blasio doubled down. When de Blasio, remember, he decided, this is our glorious mayor, for those who don't live in New York City, our glorious mayor decided, you know what, there are homeless people who we have to worry about, COVID. So you know what I'll do? I'll use taxpayer money and I'll put them in luxury hotels in the Upper West Side.
Oh my God.
That actually happened. You know that. That happened.
I cannot believe he did. I remember when that happened because I had friends like a couple friends on the Upper West Side, but mostly reading about it that are like, yeah, these homeless people like just pissing next to these like nice apartment buildings, and
people are dropping $5,000 or $6,000 a month on rent, and you walk outside and you got a guy with his tool out, taking a leak in front of you,
taking a shit on that on your front stoop.
On your front stoop. So of course, when the people come into de Blasio, De Blasio is actually a true believer. There's a difference. They're both terrible people, but De Blasio actually believes it. He's a true believer. Like, he just believes that. No, because he got mad. He didn't get say, I'm sorry. He said, what's wrong with you? These people need help. You terrible human being. Of course you should let them take a dump in your front yard. They're homeless. What's wrong with you? He doubled down.
Invite them into your apartment to let them crap in your bathroom. Right.
He didn't fight back. He was like, no, you should. Look, Chrissy, I know I take 70% of your income, but just give me 85%. Then we'll have this socialist utopia that I've been talking about for years. Just one more gulag. That's all we need.
And the reason
and then we'll have it.
The reason for taking them in and putting them in the luxury hotels is what? Because they needed to space out. They needed to, for COVID. Like,
we can't have them on the street. They might get COVID and die.
But you're on the street. You can distance.
Yes.
Outside is very well ventilated.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And also, it's like a lot of these, and of course, like, not to shit on homeless people, not all of them, you know.
Well, some would do the reverse.
People. There's some percentage of homeless people that, like, you're not gonna help them out of it. Like, they are addicted to drugs. They're gonna do crack. Like, even if they have a luxury room on the Upper West Side, they're gonna be out on the corner doing crack. You know, it's like you're. There's
without question a higher population of homeless people when it comes to addiction problems, any chemical problems, much more than the non-homeless population, and also mental illness, much higher percentage. I mean, like triple. I mean, it's a much higher percentage. The odds of you finding the average person who has either a chemical dependency or some form of mental issue or concern, slim compared to the homeless population. The homeless population is much higher. And again, I don't want to crap on all homeless people either. Some homeless people are simply working poor, right? Who are just in bad spots. That's absolutely true. I'm saying by percentage only.
Yeah. I don't know how many homeless listeners I have, but if you are listening, I love you.
I love you too. Yes, absolutely. Particularly my vets. I love all of them, but I have a special place in my heart for homeless vets.
Oh gosh, yeah, they should be taken care of. I mean, number one, it breaks my heart every time I, hear about a vet who's not getting what they need, because it's absolutely. Like, oof. This is interesting.
Did I throw some?
No. I'm glad you brought up the Upper West Side thing, because I was so shocked.
Positive stuff. I have some. I know we do a lot of. I have some positive stuff. There can actually be a turnaround for this, right? The advantage of the COVID response of shutting everything down and making our cities get smaller does mean that there actually can be a renaissance. See, I use renaissance too. There can be a renaissance in the suburbs and in the rural areas. So there is an advantage to that. As people move out, they will require more services, more help, more this, more that. So there is a renaissance available now in certain smaller towns and rural areas. Option one. Other piece is it's going to change how we do healthcare and education. Both of those systems are broken, and now we've had to make adjustments because of the COVID response, which means we have an opportunity to actually repair our education system and repair our healthcare system. So while there has been a lot of pain, there can be a silver lining to make things better. See, I turned it around.
So how would you change education and healthcare? Because my sister's a teacher. I hear her talk a lot about that school choice is actually a good thing. I don't know. Yes. Sometimes I tune out because it seems like such insider baseball. But she's like, if you're a family and your school district like kind of sucks, you should be able to choose where to send your kid. If you can afford it, like, why not?
Absolutely, but not even if you can afford it. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Think about this. If we actually had supported homeschooling, we don't in New York State at all. We're terrible with it. But if we actually supported homeschooling for the past 20 years, there would be institutional knowledge within communities on how to homeschool.
Yep.
That would already exist. We don't have that now because we pushed all our kids by only going to public school. That's the only answer there is. We've made the government monopoly the only answer instead of allowing people to do both. Now, if a bunch of kids would go homeschooling and the school started to suffer, they'd have to get better, wouldn't they? Or people would all rush to homeschooling. But right now, if we had that institutional knowledge within communities on how to homeschool, the homeschooling mom or dad who's there right now doing it could make a killing.
Oh my God, you're right. There would be a model. They could give classes.
Absolutely.
They could have a business.
They could either be a train the trainer type or just basically open up their own school for a whole lot cheaper. Wow. Right? Come to my house. I'm already teaching my kid for free. Come to my house. throw me, I don't know, $50 a month and per kid, and I'll make an extra $500.
That would be amazing. It's like you just go to school on your own block with your neighbor, and it would like communities would be stronger, and you'd have more friends.
It's what I've been talking about for literally for decades. Yes, we could do this. For years, I brought this up. We should just be supporting homeschool.
Right. That's it. You wouldn't have like, it's like the mom or the dad, whoever's staying home to be like the homeschool teacher for the block. It's like they would actually be making an income. It's not like the mom who has to stay, like now, like the mom who has to stay home or whoever's lost their job and gets to stay home. And now you're teacher, but you're stressing because you're not bringing in an income. Like if we had this other model, I mean, does it sound like a pipe dream? I don't know. Is it feasible?
No, we just again create an environment and people act accordingly, right?
Yeah.
This is my entire libertarian message. Stop forcing people into things. Create better environments and people will do better. Now, if you don't want to homeschool your kid, fine, you go to public school. It's not a requirement, but it creates the option for you in your own communities. And if you're wealthy, you send your kids to some private school or bring in a private tutor because you're wealthy. So it doesn't affect the wealthy, they get it too. So they're going to fight us on this. The wealthy's going to be like, fine, plebes, get what you want. We don't care.
Plebes.
Right, whatever, please get what you want. Right, they'll do that. But the rest of us will get what we need, how we need it. And that's my whole point. If we had supported homeschooling, then this would not have been anywhere near the problem that it is now. If we had supported distance learning, right, it wouldn't be anywhere near as bad as it is now. How do you deal with the problem is we deal with the idea of kids with disabilities, right? Or kids with special needs as one monolith. And they're not. There are kids who need to be around other kids. There are kids who don't need to be around other kids. Each one's different. If we would have actually stopped treating special needs kids as a monolith, we'd have multiple ways of making this work now. We'd have that institutional knowledge, that education infrastructure to pick up the slack. And some kids, you need to get them out. You need to get them socialized, and some you don't. Right? Again,
even kids that aren't special needs, like I know some kids are really struggling not being in physical school every day of the week, and that's what they need because they need that separation, like away from home. The video games, you know, it's like you need to be all right. Now I'm here, my mind is on school, my friends are here. I really feel bad for these kids that are like growing up. I feel like they're going to be a generation of kids who are growing up like a little bit fucked up now because they're going to be afraid of other people. They're going to be germaphobes. It's like they don't fully understand the mask thing, but they're like, they're so impressionable. And I really fear for them growing up.
We are crushing a generation of kids because of fear, right? When I was in the Marine Corps, I was in during the first Cold War. I was in during when there was a USSR, right? I'm a little bit older.
You don't look old enough to be saying the things you're saying.
Yes. No, I'm in my 50s.
Don't look it, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yes, so that's when I was in. And during that time, we were worried about chemical warfare and biological warfare. And they taught us how to survive and function in a contaminated environment, right? You don't just run away when the chemical bombs drop or when the biological agent, you still have to fight and function and win a battle and win a war, even though the field is contaminated, and you learn how to do it. We haven't taught our kids how to be resilient. We haven't taught our kids how to survive. We've taught our own selves. We haven't taught our businesses how to survive in a contaminated environment.
It's just been like retreat and quit and shut down. And it's like, how does anybody live like that?
Correct. And we have to learn how to deal with those environments. It doesn't mean do nothing. It means come up with the appropriate protocols to survive, right? That's what you do. This is not the last virus that we're ever going to see. And we're crushing our kids. It's a terrible environment for our children. We're breaking them, right? We're completely breaking them versus instead, fixing them. The other thing I want to bring up here is it's in both college and then K through 12, how this has worked. In K through 12, we realize that these mandatory tests don't matter. They're not taking them now. And the world's not ending. That's not why they're struggling. The mandatory tests, the mandatory standardized testing is just for federal funds. It's all about the money. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. But more importantly, college, $50,000 for a year of Zoom calls. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
College was never worth that. Still isn't worth that. It's been a racket and a scam for decades.
I remember, I bought like I think a $200 textbook, and it was like not a big deal.
Yes, correct. It's been a scam and a racket for decades that is going to be broken now because of COVID, luckily, because parents are now suing, saying, you told me when I went there and I wanted to say, just do some online classes. You said, no, it's the environment. It's all this garbage. And you lied to me. And that's why it's worth 50 grand. Well, I'm not getting that now.
Right.
So I want my money back.
So people are going to be pulling out of colleges.
100%.
Big
Less
time.
people will go, which is a good thing. Not everybody should go to college. And maybe you'll go later in life, which is also a good thing when you realize you need to go for whatever career change you want to make in your life, which is also a good idea. But we won't just say, oh, you're 18, off to 4 more years of being told what to do, off to 4 more years of indoctrination. Now you'll be 24 years old and have no work ethic because you've never had to have a job.
But I wonder, I mean, there's like, yeah, what our boomer parents were telling us, well, telling me, like, you have to get college, you have to do college to just get any job at all, period. But then you can change, right? You can change, right? Because if I have kids, like, I will be different. But can you change the other side of it? Like, can you change the corporate side of it? Like, will they start hiring people who don't have a college education?
They already do.
Really?
Of course. Okay. First off, they already do. That's number one. But second, of course, if the people aren't there, they'll take who they want to take. Look at 2 examples. One is a high end and then a high end white collar and then a middle of the road blue collar. High end white collar, guys like Elon Musk. Elon Musk says this all the time. He says literally, I will hire 2 types of people. The top grade from the top schools and people who've done something. Ooh. That's it. That's who he hires. So you're either top of the line academic or you've done something. That's it, right? Wow. That's the number one thing. I've taught at Yale and Columbia in the business school. I don't have an advanced degree. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology from the University of Maryland. No one goes, University of Maryland, oh my God. No one does that. They go, oh, University of Maryland. Yes, that's a college. That is. That's all they do, right? So it's done. But then take the average blue collar worker. Again, when I crossed this state in 2018, I still cross it every year. I did also 2 counties this year and last year. I do it anyway. And I had people tell me, Larry, I will hire anybody with a work ethic.
That's really all you need. Every job I've had, I've learned on the job. I didn't go into it knowing.
One guy literally said this. He said, Larry, here's how I hire people. I tell them the appointment's at 8 o'clock. I open the door at 5 minutes to 8. If they're there, they're hired. That's what he said. Because, and when I told that story in another event, someone said, oh my God, Larry, it's so true. I had 12 appointments this week for interviews. 6 were no-shows, 4 were late.
Wow.
So only 2 out of 12 actually showed up on time. So I'm sure all 12 had degrees, but it didn't matter who showed up. What people care about is work ethic.
Wow.
That's the key.
And we're not learning it by running and hiding and shutting everything down.
Or by just, can you take a test and pass a test?
Yeah.
Those 2 things are not helping. Running away, there's a thing now, there used to be a thing called helicopter parenting. That's now changed. Now it's called bulldozer parenting. Helicopter parenting was you hover over the kid and anything went wrong, you'd fix it. Bulldozer is worse. You get in front of them and push out all the possible obstacles so they just have a nice, loving life and there's no obstacles whatsoever. So the second they fail, they're devastated. They're devastated. And it's never their fault. It's someone else's fault. It was unfair because I failed. Well, of course, if your whole life you're getting bulldozed, through everything, the amount of times I've told my daughters, well, guess you're screwed, aren't you? I mean, so many times I've said that. Fix it. What do you do? Fix it all the time. And it makes my daughters more resilient because I let them fail, get back up. You need my help? You got to ask me for it. And there's the thing I do, and this is going to sound sexist, but I don't care. Women in today's world still do not ask for what they want anywhere near as much as men do.
Nope.
This is a cultural issue. It's where we are. It's how we do it. So I force my daughters in this regard. You want something from me? Ask me for it. Tell me what you want, and then I immediately give it to them because I'm teaching them. You can ask for what you want. And it's surprising
I think as women, we would like to think that you can read our minds. We would like to think that other people can tell what we need because we can tell what other people need.
Yep.
It's like it's a blessing and a curse, I think, of being a woman. It's like, yeah, you're perceptive, empathetic, and you also expect other people to know what's going on with you. You got to be a people pleaser. You have to I don't know.
Well, no, it's the old. I mean,
yeah.
it's very much stereotypical, but it's the old. If a man is silent, he's happy. If a woman is silent, she's angry. Right?
Fine.
Right. Yes.
Fine.
If a man's quiet, he's like, oh, and the woman thinks, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm quiet.
Yeah.
If something was wrong, I'd be telling you something's wrong.
Right.
Right. But a woman's like, I'm quiet. So the man's like, oh, she's fine. No, she's not.
Nope. No, she's not. We're never fine.
She is not. That not at all. No, she's not.
This is crazy. What are we going to do about this, Larry? It's like, yeah, if you open a business, I mean, if you...
Well, the advantage of, there's an advantage of opening a business too. I'm going to try to give you some positive news too. There are some good things. The advantage is starting a business now is a wonderful idea because you will get talent very cheap.
Right. Okay. Because I'm thinking like, who's going to come in now that
anybody.
All these businesses are
You're
out?
Going to get people very cheap now, right? Because they're looking for a change. People are frustrated, right? So they're prepared to take less money to try something new. They're also prepared to try new stuff now. Now's time to try it. Remember, most of the biggest and strongest businesses have been started during downtimes. Because if you can function and do well during downtimes, you can explode when times are good. So it's the ultimate trial by fire, right? So a lot of businesses now is actually a good time to do so. It's a good time to start a business. Wow. You can get a lot of volunteers. You can get people who do sweat equity. You'll get people who have nothing and will say, you know what? All right, usually I'll take X dollars. I'll take half X just for the opportunity to grow and do something new. So you can get great talent. That's an advantage. And second, you can get great talent not in your city. Everybody's doing Zoom and StreamYard and Skype and all those things. So you can actually get good talent from around the globe in theory, but surely from around the country. So if you have an idea, if you want to do something, now's not a bad time. You can do it cheaply. And if it explodes, when this turns around, and eventually it will, I think it's going to take several years before the economy turns. My gut is at least 2 or 3 until Americans just say, I don't care, I'm just going to spend. So when that happens, and if you're in business, you will explode. You will really do well. So there's some positive some positive news.
Okay, yeah, that is positive. That's uplifting. Oh boy, do you think a vaccine can be forced?
That's one of the reasons why His Majesty, oh hello King, wanted to make sure that we did not use the private sector, right? The plan, the current model is to use the private sector, is to put it into CVS's and Walgreens, places like that. And I think it's the right answer.
Which is free. Right? I mean, you could just roll up. You've always been able to roll up to a CVS and get it free.
Even if they charge something, right? CVS won't charge much because they hope you're going to go in, get the vaccine, and then, whatever, buy some pantyhose or whatever is the cool thing of the day in CVS. Don't judge me, Chrissy, if I like pantyhose. Anyway, so yes. So
whatever you're into, Larry.
Exactly, whatever's my thing. So yeah, so you're gonna go in and buy your pantyhose or your chocolate or whatever you're gonna buy at CVS, or your soda, only 16 ounces of less soda.
Tiny cans of soda.
Tiny cans of soda, whatever that is. See that callback? I'm good at that.
We did
it. Yeah, so we're gonna bring back this small cans of soda, whatever it is, and they're gonna make money anyway. But more importantly, if he wants to mandate it, private employees are not going to do that. You can't have CVS employees knock on your door and say, "Right, your papers,"
because you want to use your doctor, your people.
So he actually wanted to use government agents to do it. Government agencies. Ugh. Yes, because government agents will knock on your door and enforce the mandate. They're government agents.
That's frightening.
Yes.
I mean, can that actually happen?
I think no. Because of what the Supreme Court just did. The Supreme Court, I think, will say that's unconstitutional and can't be done. Will His Majesty try it? Yes. I think he'll absolutely try it. If enough people don't take the vaccine, I think he will try it. That's what he wanted to do. But so far, the current administration is using private companies and not the government, which stops that. And then the Supreme Court is already saying going into churches is unconstitutional. They'll probably say going into homes are also. So I don't think it will happen. But would he try it? Yes. He's not above it, but I do think it won't work. Here's the reality. The one good thing is there are multiple vaccines. That's a good thing. It means that people can find a vaccine that they trust, right? And so the odds of people taking the vaccine voluntarily shoot up tremendously. But there's something else they want to do, which I'm torn on this. They want to pay you to take the vaccine. The new plan is if you want your stimulus check, take the vaccine. Yes.
Oh boy.
That is a new plan being floated. It is not the deal yet. But
You're
that's an
fully
idea out
a
there.
test gerbil. You're a
Yes.
lab rat. Yeah.
But it's $1,500 was the plan that they put up. Again, this is not done. This is people talking about it right now.
Yeah.
It is not a done deal. They're talking about $1,500 to take the vaccine. I'm torn, right? A part of me is like, yeah, good. I'll take the cash, right? Better than a mandate. But now that I believe that a mandate's not feasible, I'm no longer such a fan of $1,500, right? When I thought the only option was $1,500 or mandate, I was much more open to the $1,500 idea. Right. But now that I think there's not going to be a mandate, I'm much less in favor of the $1,500 because it puts pressure on those who are in trouble or in need to take it versus people who are doing well. And it creates an underclass of guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit worried about that now.
That is a little bit concerning because what if you have a terrible reaction? You can't sue the companies who make the vaccines. So,
and look, the Black community, we still remember Tuskegee Airmen when you put syphilis into a bunch of Black men in, was it Alabama, Mississippi?
I forgot what?
All test subjects. Yes, unknown.
When was this?
Ooh, God, now I'm trying to remember. 20s?
Whoa.
Is that right? I think 20s.
We'll have to fact check it later.
Yes. So do the Tuskegee Airmen syphilis? Or was it gonorrhea? Syphilis. Yes.
Wow.
So.
Damn.
So yeah, done it once before.
You had syphilis. We've all had syphilis.
And then we all more than once, I assume.
No, chlamydia. I had chlamydia once. It's not a big deal. Just take some pills.
I've only had it 4 times. No big deal.
Oh, hey.
No biggie. Only once, rookie.
I think once. Yeah, I think once. Okay. Yeah.
Babs. Lightweight. That's okay.
It's all right. I'm young still.
You're young. Right. You've got time. By the time you're in your 50s, you could have it 4 times. Sure. You've still got time.
A few more rounds in me. Sure.
You've got time. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. You got time.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of it being forced. I also heard people talking that this might have been an article that they could easily just jab kids while they're in school.
Yes.
That way they have and they wouldn't even put it on their record.
Yes.
Which is insane because then you have the parents that are going to jab them anyway privately. So it's like, I just feel like that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I don't think they won't put it on the record, but I think they will. But there's already a movement where schools are saying once your kid's in school, you parents don't have the same rights. That's already a thing, right? That's already a thing. And there's some precedent to that, which is horrible because now you don't.
They can discipline your kid, right? Like basically once, yeah.
Not just that, ask them questions, get information from them. I've recently fought my daughter's school on this. Them wanting her to write certain things. I'm like, no, she will not. No, she will not. But I watch all the other parents comply. They comply all the time and just go, okay, I guess you know better because you're the authority figure in my life. And the problem is, if you talk to parents in public schools, when a kid has a problem, they don't just go, hey, you're bad at math. Let's fix that. Or whatever is the problem that the kid has a problem with, right? They go, so your parents, how are they? Oh, really? Do they argue? Does your dad own a gun? Does your mom do this? Yes, they literally ask those questions now. Yeah. That's totally fine.
Which is like, I get it if you're seeing signs of abuse, if you're like, if the kid's coming in with like bruises on like a black eye or whatever. I mean, there's genuinely situations where a kid needs help. And
the problem is they don't want to be sued because of a litigious society. So they do it to everybody. Right. So if you came in, your kid came in with a bruise and they ask your kid, you go, why'd you pick my kid? Lawsuit. So instead they just do everybody. Then it's a lawsuit.
That seems like prying to me. It just seems like
but it's because they're afraid of being sued because sadly our jury system just goes $100 million makes sense to me. And boom, everybody just gets tons of money. This is why, by the way, New York State, if you sue New York State takes every single case, settles almost nothing, and takes every single case all the way through. Why? We don't be biased. They're more worried about being biased than saving the literally hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on legal fees, because we can't be biased. So I think that's what's happening in schools too. The origin of this, which is most things, was not to be mean or to pry. The origin was to not be biased. So now virtual signaling now costs us our privacy.
Jeez. Wow.
Most of the time, the origins of these things is not bad, right? Most of the time, the origin is something good. Most of the time, and it winds up being bad, and then we don't even know why we did it in the first place. And now it's our right as our school to do this. So it is not at all far-fetched to have schools say, we're going to vaccinate your kids. You have no choice. Ooh. Now, again, I'm actually not against that conceptually if you support private school and homeschooling well enough that either of those three are equal choices in the mind of any parent.
Right, because now it just seems like you're trapped. And
that's correct.
Like you have no choice. Yeah.
Exactly. Now you're trapped. But if you support all three equally, so the parent would have a choice, you know what? I don't want to follow public school mandates. I'm going to go to a private school, or I'm going to homeschool. If you supported all three equally to where it was an equal choice, fine. Have mandatory vaccines if you want to go to that school. I don't have a problem with that, right? But realistically, that's not a choice. You're forcing the mandates. Because
we're not mandating like the regular ass flu shot every year. There's kids and adults who don't get the flu shot every year. And it's like there have been previous flus, even like more deadly even. You know what I mean? Like just because, so where's the flu this year? The regular flu. It's like.
Well, that's the other problem that's going to happen is, right, when we actually go back and look at this, a huge amount of these deaths are not actually due to COVID, right? I don't know what that number is. Right. Say that
the numbers are so inflated. And even if they test the same person, like let's say if you get 3 COVID tests and you're positive, that counts as 3 positive COVID cases. They actually count like there's multiple, the numbers are so inflated that even if it doesn't matter like however many tests you got, that counts as 1 positive case, even if it's all just one person.
Yes. So the problem is, say 2 years from now, we start looking back. And we realize, wait a minute, usually we lose 60,000 people to the flu every year. We only lost 10,000. Wow.
Where'd they go?
About 50,000 were actually COVID patients, right? Or whatever that number is. I made those numbers up totally. Let's say when we're done with the COVID pandemic, America loses, for the sake of argument, 330,000 people. I made the number up, right? That's the amount we lose. What if only half of those were actually COVID? Was that worth the damage that we did to our society, to our culture, to our cities, to our economy, to our mental health? I would argue no, but the problem becomes is then how do you square that circle if you're someone like a Cuomo who was adamant and who was a tyrant, right? That's why he wrote his book already, by the way, on how good he is with COVID.
Gross.
Because he's already trying to control the future by controlling the past.
Wow. Because before like the WHO changed the rules, like what constitutes a pandemic. That was changed right before. And then the next day, suddenly COVID was declared a pandemic. And there are some folks who think like, if you really break it down, COVID does not really shouldn't have been declared an actual pandemic. It's actually not deadly
Well, my
enough.
point is, I don't care if it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the way I look at it. Right? We have to be able to, there's going to be a worse virus at one point. I don't know when it will be, but it's going to happen. There's going to be a worse virus. That doesn't mean, lock us all down again. We have to come up with protocols to survive in a contaminated environment, regardless of how strong or weak the virus is. We have to be able to function. You can't shut your world down. The devastation that happens, particularly in a world that changes so fast now, right? In a fast-paced world that changes so much now, if a child loses 2 years, that will affect them. Now, we have data on this, by the way, and I'm going to go back again. I'm going back to wars again. World War II, we have data. Occupied German, the Nazi-occupied countries for 2 or 3 or 4 years. You can go back and look at the children who were raised during the occupation. They have issues. It's night and day. The data is there. Right? When you're occupied by that, when you're shut down, when your culture gets stifled and crushed, in this case by Nazi occupation, it affects the children. Again, data, if anyone cares, you can just do that homework. It's all over the place. We have data. A lot of it was done, I don't know why, but a lot of it was done in Denmark. I'm sorry, not Denmark, the Netherlands. Holland and the Netherlands. They have a lot of data based upon that when the Nazis occupied
and a lot of
that country.
tulips. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you're not doing tulips if the Nazis tell you not to do, are you? You're not.
Wow. Yeah, that's very scary. So I think that's all we can do is just like watch our kids and support them as best we can, because this is scary.
Absolutely. And look for the rays of sunshine and focus on those.
Like
look
literal take them out in the sun. Yeah,
yes,
it's so
too.
important.
Absolutely. Right. And try to let them know that the world's not ending. It may look like it sometimes. It's not ending, but to keep having hope. Right. I'm still talking to my daughters now about their future constantly. Right. My daughters are 16 and 10.
Aww.
And I'm speaking about their future all the time. Right. I'm working with them more. Right. I've done something for my youngest daughter. I now wake her up every morning. Right. Because I wanted her to realize that I'm here. Aww. We're still going. So I now physically wake her up every morning. I didn't do that before, but now I do. My oldest daughter, we spend time together talking about anime because she wants to be an anime cartoonist.
Aww.
So yes. So we're talking about future and what's important. Because now you want to do maybe an extra hug, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To kind of make up for the other thing we've lost. But the other part is for those parents who, have been, I don't want you online with your friends all the time. You've got to be a bit more lenient now. Whatever your time was, that is now their number one way of communicating with their friends. So I don't get as angry with my daughters when they're up later at night talking with their friends on FaceTime or Discord or something. I let it go. When I used to be like, why are you still up? Why are you doing that? Being the dad. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shut up and go back.
Because how many more hours are adults now logging? Like when my screen time thing comes up, I'm like, okay, that's enough out of you. I'm like, why don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. This thing keeps going. I'm going to have seen you more on Zoom than I have in person. It keeps going.
I know, Larry. It's like, it's like, who knows if I'm wearing pants now? I am. I'm wearing pants.
I don't mind if you aren't. It's fine.
All right. Good. We're close like that.
It's your home. You should do whatever you feel in your home. You want to wear pants, wear pants. You don't. It's your home. I'm not going to be Cuomo and go, you may only wear long pants and you've got to make sure they're only either black or brown or green and that's it.
I've got more than 10 pairs of pants in my closet.
There we go. You can wear whatever pants you want or not. I'm okay.
Larry, where can people find you, follow you, and learn more about you? And aren't you possibly, are you going to talk about maybe running for something now or later?
I might. I am going to be making a decision in the summer as to whether I'll run for governor again.
Cool.
I got to see what's going to be going on, how much support I can get, how much money I can raise to see if it's worth another shot. It's a year and a half out of my life where I can't work. So I've got to go a year and a half without a salary.
Wow.
So it's a big commitment to make. It's a big sacrifice to make, and I don't want to make it unless I think I can make real impact.
Right.
So I should know by the summer whether I can do it or not. I will declare one way or the other, no later than September, probably earlier. I'll declare probably earlier, but that's my deadline. By September 1, I will declare one way or the other, but probably earlier, to be forward with you. I should know before that. But people want to know about me, my policy, my boring policy stuff. Google me on Larry Sharpe. That's Sharpe with an E, LarrySharpe.com. If you want to see my cool, very cool live video podcast, that is The Sharpe Way. Please check that out on all the internet things. The Sharpe Way, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all those cool things, all the things. Check me out. I'm live almost every day, 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Sometimes do 8, 8:30, 7, but usually around 7 I'm live.
Wonderful. And follow Larry on all the social media stuff. And yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Larry.
Of course. Good talking to you as always.
Yay.